Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to waste your time today. I'm just going to give you the helicopter view in terms of my study. I think I've already presented this study for many times. But what it actually means is that it focuses in terms of the demanufacturing. And then as we know that demanufacturing is more about the reverse of manufacturing. When you produce the product, when that product has reached end of life, it has to be broken down into individual components. And then that individual component needs to be resourced back into inventory and then go back into the production again. And then the main aim of doing that is to do what we call it a material recovery, isn't it so? One can argue in terms of recycling. When you recycle something, when recycling this, you get something else, isn't it so? It means you're going to break it down and then to get something else. When you refurbish, yes, it's okay, you can refurbish it. But in terms of the quality of that product that has been refurbished, its life has been deteriorated, so to say, by certain degrees, so to say. So the demanufacturing that I'm talking about the end of life. And then the question that probably most of you can ask, what do you mean by end of life? We are talking about the locomotives that have a lifespan of 50 years or 20 years. What do you mean by that? Is it relevant study to do? And the question is, yes, it is relevant. You still have what we call it a derailment. Let's take, for example, the things that Mr. Mudau mentioned earlier today. He mentioned about the same principle that you apply in an automotive is the same principle that are being applied in assembling the locomotives in so. Let's take, for example, a car. If your car now hit another car now, and it gets beyond repair. What do you call that? It's the end of life of that particular product, isn't it so? So it means you have to disassemble and then maybe sell parts, isn't it so? Let's go again to the locomotive. If the locomotive itself gets derailed, we are not saying if, let's say, it derailed, it can damage automatically, isn't it so? But what do you do with that product? Do you refurbish? Do you recycle? What do you do? That's a question that probably we can ask all of us here. So end of life comes in a different way. It may come in terms of the aging of the product. It may come in terms of the accident. We live in a very funny country, isn't it so? Where if, let's say, the train doesn't arrive, they ban that thing. They ban the locomotives. But what do you do with that product? What do you do? Do you just throw it? If, let's say, you're looking in terms of the recovering of those components and then maintain the life and then extend the life cycle of that product, how do you do? Through the demanufacturing, this is where you can, the intervention that my study is focusing on. We are focusing on that into detail. We want to demanufacturing has never been applied in a rail industry. Yes, it has been applied in electronics, and then also I read studies that talk about demanufacturing in aircraft when the aircraft has reached end of life. So like I said, I'm not going to dwell much or going into detail in terms of the study, in terms of the methodology, the method, how I'm going to arrive to that. But the key things that interest me is that also the maintenance play a key part in terms of the deterioration of the component. If, let's say, you don't maintain the car, what happened? Your car lifespan is become limited. So I will be more interested with Givela if, let's say, they can give me an opportunity, because I don't know whether they do what we call it refurbishment of their product. If, let's say, they do, I can able to learn a lot in that area. I thank you. Comrades, to get into the slides.
You want me to get into the...
It's fine. Okay, you want me to get into... Okay. Yes. And then the problem, because we do have a lot of fleet in South Africa, you're not going to see any different things. And then the purpose of doing the aim of the research, which is fine, and then the objectives. Yes. You get my point? Yes. No, there's no time, people are tired. There's no time. These are the components, some of the components that you can recover, yes?
Start from this one. And don't move fast, please.
Yes.
Please, don't worry, there's plenty of time. So
come on.
You can take his time and explain.
Take your time. Easy.
Okay, I think I mentioned something that demanufacturing is very important, isn't it so? I did talk about the material recovering, isn't it so, of end of life of product that we need to recover. So those are the opportunity that comes with the demanufacturing. Employment. What do you mean by employment? We say we can create an indirect. You have the manufacturing part, isn't it so? You are focusing in terms of the manufacturing. If let's say you have another plant that is doing the demanufacturing of the end-of-life product, it means that there is a creation of another. Isn't it so? A material recovery method, it also deals in terms of the inventory control techniques that you can able to use to able to manage the end-of-life component. The component that you have indeed demanufacture, you put it into the store, but there is another forward logistical supply that you need to be aware of. Who is going to demand those components that indeed you have put into the inventory, isn't it so? Yes, indeed, it's going to do waste reduction. You're not going to throw any component into the landfills, isn't it so? Are we together? But in order for us to do this, to have the interaction of this activity, one needs to have the business model to be able to address that, isn't it so? So the whole thing in the appropriate technology, you're not just going to use a hammer and then cut because it means that if let's say you're going to cut it wrongly, you're going to damage some of the material, isn't it so? And then that aim of recovering the material, some of the material, you're going to throw them away. Are we together on that aspect? So this one is done. What more?
Continue.
Yeah. Yeah, these are the components that I think you can do some of the recovery. This is not all, isn't it so? We are saying the boogie, you can also gain some sort of a recovery on the wheels, isn't it so? Instead of throwing them, maybe you remanufacture that material to bring it back into life. But the key things, guys, and which is I didn't want to dwell much on it, is that there is a cost component of it, which I'm going to use what we call it ABC model to quantify the cost. If let's say people are working on that product, we are not sure whether that product is going to bring revenue, isn't it so? Because it's a product that have been removed from another product. How does it compare with the new product on the market, isn't it so? So those are the challenges that I'm going to try to address. Are we together? I think that's enough.